They're showing you their passport stamps again, sunset photos from Bali, that spontaneous weekend in Paris, someone's backpacking through Southeast Asia on a budget that somehow still exceeds your annual savings. And you're supposed to feel something, envy, wanderlust, that aching FOMO that makes you want to book a flight immediately. But you don't. You look at their photos and feel nothing. Maybe even a little exhausted just thinking about packing a suitcase, navigating airports, sleeping in unfamiliar beds. You haven't traveled? They ask, eyes wide with disbelief. Like you just confessed to never tasting chocolate or seeing the ocean. But traveling changes you, opens your mind, broadens your perspective. You have to see the world. And you nod politely, smile, and think to yourself, but I don't want to. Does that make me broken, close-minded? Am I missing out on what makes life worth living? If you've ever felt guilty for not caring about travel, for not having that burning desire to see every corner of the globe, understand this. You're not broken. You're not small-minded. You're not missing some essential human experience. Your brain is simply wired for a different kind of exploration. And there's profound psychology behind why travel leaves you cold while it intoxicates others. Let's start with what's actually happening in the brain when people talk about loving travel. For many travelers, new environments trigger massive dopamine releases. Their brains are novelty-seeking machines, and nothing delivers novelty quite like a completely foreign place. New sights, sounds, foods, languages, customs. For these people, the unfamiliar doesn't create anxiety. It creates excitement. Their nervous systems interpret the unknown as adventure rather than threat, stimulation rather than overwhelm. But your brain? It's different. You might have what psychologists call a lower novelty-seeking temperament. This doesn't mean you're boring or unadventurous. It means your brain finds reward and meaning in different places. While the traveler's dopamine spikes from external novelty, yours might spike from deep focus, from mastery of a skill, from the comfort of familiar patterns, from going deeper rather than wider. You're not running from new experiences. You're simply not driven by them the way others are. There's also something called place attachment that varies dramatically between people. Some individuals form deep, almost spiritual bonds with specific locations. Their hometown, their neighborhood, the park where they walk every morning, the coffee shop where they write. For them, travel isn't enriching. It's disorienting. It severs them from the places that give their life meaning and stability. They're not afraid of the world. They're in love with their corner of it. And there's something beautiful about that, something our travel-obsessed culture fails to honor. Think about it this way. The traveler finds depth through breadth, experiencing many places shallowly, collecting impressions, accumulating stories. You find depth through depth, experiencing one place or a few places profoundly, noticing the small changes in your local park through seasons, knowing the stories of people in your community. Neither approach is superior. They're simply different philosophies of how to extract meaning from existence. The traveler collects experiences like stamps in a passport. You cultivate experience like roots in soil. Both grow, just in different directions. Now let's talk about what travel actually demands, because this is where the disconnect becomes clear. Travel requires enormous amounts of planning, coordination, constant decision-making, and adaptation to changing circumstances. Where do I stay? How do I get there? What should I eat? What does this sign mean? Can I drink the water? Did I pack my charger? For someone with ADHD or executive function challenges, travel isn't relaxing. It's cognitively exhausting. You're in a constant state of low-level problem solving without the familiar systems and routines that usually help you manage daily life. For brains that already struggle with executive function, travel isn't an escape from daily stress. It's daily stress amplified in an unfamiliar environment without your usual coping mechanisms. You don't have your regular coffee shop where the barista knows your order. You don't have your carefully organized workspace. You don't have the comfort of routine that helps your brain conserve energy for things that actually matter to you. And then there's the sensory assault that nobody talks about. Travel is an onslaught on the senses. Loud airports with constant announcements, crowded streets with unfamiliar sounds and smells, strange beds that don't feel right, different water that tastes wrong, food your stomach doesn't immediately recognize. For highly sensitive people or those with sensory processing differences, travel isn't enriching, it's overwhelming. By day 3 of a trip, you're not feeling enlightened, you're feeling overstimulated and desperate for your own bed, your own shower, your own controlled environment where you can finally regulate your nervous system. Let's also acknowledge the ideology underneath travel culture, because there's an unspoken belief system here worth questioning. Travel culture operates on the assumption that wisdom comes from external experience, that growth happens through exposure to difference, that staying in one place equals stagnation. But is that actually true? Or is it just one particular philosophy of personal development that's been elevated to universal truth? Some of the deepest thinkers, most creative artists, and most fulfilled people in history rarely traveled. They went deep into their local environment, their relationships, their craft. They found infinite complexity in what others dismissed as mundane. Thoreau didn't need to leave Walden Pond to write profound observations about existence. Emily Dickinson barely left her house and created some of the most innovative poetry in the English language. The depth of your life isn't measured by the breadth of your geography. And here's what the travel evangelists don't tell you. Travel doesn't automatically make you more empathetic, open-minded, or interesting. Plenty of people travel extensively and remain exactly as narrow-minded as they were before, just with more passport stamps and Instagram photos. They stay in Western-style hotels, eat familiar food at tourist restaurants, take the same photos everyone else takes at the same landmarks, and never meaningfully engage with the cultures they're supposedly experiencing. Meanwhile, someone who's never left their city might read voraciously, engage deeply with people from different backgrounds in their own community, consume art and literature from around the world, volunteer with refugee organizations, learn languages online, and develop a far more nuanced understanding of human diversity than the tourist snapping selfies at famous monuments. The truth is, travel can be a shortcut to feeling like you're growing without doing the harder work of actual growth. Examining your assumptions, confronting your biases, developing genuine relationships with people different from you, engaging with challenging ideas that make you uncomfortable. It's easier to feel cosmopolitan because you ate pad thai in Bangkok than to actually examine the privilege and assumptions you carry with you wherever you go. We live in a culture that valorizes mobility and treats rootedness with suspicion. You've lived in the same place your whole life? People ask with barely concealed pity, as if staying somewhere is failure rather than commitment. But building a real life somewhere, investing in a community over years and decades, developing deep knowledge of a place and its people, contributing to making somewhere better, that takes dedication that the perpetual traveler might never experience. There's a kind of courage in staying and saying, this is enough, this is where I'll dig deep, that deserves respect instead of judgment. You don't have to want to see the world. You don't have to collect experiences in different countries. You don't have to chase sunsets in exotic locations. You're allowed to find your corner of the world and make it yours, to go deep instead of wide, to build a life that doesn't require a passport to feel complete. And anyone who tells you otherwise is selling you their version of a meaningful life, not discovering yours. Your lack of interest in travel doesn't make you boring, close-minded, or small. It makes you someone who knows what they value and isn't swayed by cultural pressure to pretend otherwise. And honestly, in a world of performative experiences and Instagram-driven adventures, that kind of self-knowledge and authenticity is rare, maybe even radical. So the next time someone asks about your travel plans and you say, "I don't have any," and they look at you like you've just confessed to never reading books or experiencing joy, remember this. They're measuring your life by their values, but you get to measure your life by yours. And staying home, going deep, finding richness in the familiar, that's not a failure of imagination. That's a different kind of adventure altogether.